Well, Israeli protesters have called on Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to reach a similar deal with Hamas. Demonstrators and families of the captives held in Gaza rallied in West Jerusalem on Wednesday. Pressure has been mounting on Netanyahu to do more to bring them home. Police removed some of the protesters after they blocked a road. Gideon Levy is a columnist with the Israeli newspaper Haaretz. He's joining us now from Tel Aviv. So thank you very much indeed for being with us. There does seem to be a shift of focus to some degree towards Gaza following the ceasefire that appears to be holding in Lebanon. How open do you think is the Netanyahu coalition to the possibility of some sort of truce or ceasefire agreement or even a pause in hostilities for Gaza?
So I tell you, Rob, what is impossible. It is impossible that this government will approve any kind of deal which will include, like in Lebanon, the withdrawal of the Israeli forces. And as long as this is the case, it cannot be a real deal. It can be a pause, and we heard now about one suggestion, the Egyptian offer to make a pause, to release some hostages, to release some Palestinian prisoners, and to go on. But unlikely Lebanon, in Gaza, Israel has no intention to evacuate the Gaza Strip. The northern part of Gaza is now totally in ruins. And I don't see a situation in which Palestinians will be allowed to get back to the northern part of Gaza. So future looks much more problematic in Gaza than in Lebanon.
Is there a circumstance under which, if there was an agreement that allowed Israeli forces to remain in Gaza, but still allowed for a prisoner swap and the release of captives, do you think that there is a scenario in which that would be allowed to happen, which could pave the way, if you like, for some sort of cessation of hostilities?
Even if it will happen, it will not too much, because as long as the army stays there, there will be resistance. And as long as there is resistance, there will be retaliation. That's the logic. I don't see a leverage of the Egyptians over the Netanyahu's government. The Americans didn't say yet anything. It depends much on them, because in Lebanon, it was very clear that it was the American leverage which made the difference. The Americans were very clear about the deal in Lebanon. I'm not sure they will be so devoted about Gaza, especially not in the coming weeks until the new president will get into office. And in any case, it will be a very, very limited deal. Let's not have too many expectations about it.
One of the reasons for signing the ceasefire agreement with Lebanon was that, according to Benjamin Netanyahu, is that it would allow his coalition to focus on other fronts, Syria, for example, the occupied West Bank, and of course what he regards as an existential threat from Iran. Do you see, though, if a scenario, again, if you like, that Gaza becomes essentially more of a hindrance, essentially, for the Israeli forces if they're trying to focus on these other fronts?
Look, the other fronts, we have to separate between them, because the West Bank, Israel is in very massive forces there, trying to oppress any resistance in Tulkarem, in Jenin, in other places. The West Bank is under a very strong rule now, more than before the 7th of October. We don't pay attention to what's going on in the West Bank, but I go there at least once a week and I see life is impossible. The checkpoints are everywhere. The army is very tough and many times even cruel, and this might explode. It might explode. As for Iran, that's really a question that depends much on the Americans. I don't see Israel doing anything in Iran without an American approval and maybe even American involvement. Without this, it will not happen. And the answer to this is it's the new White House president, Donald Trump. If he will collaborate with a military operation against Iran, I doubt it, but who knows?
Gideon Levy, as always, we appreciate you being with us on Al Jazeera. So thank you very much indeed for your time.
Thank you, Rob.
Make sure to subscribe to our channel to get the latest news from Al Jazeera.